Hare Krishna. A warm welcome to all of you for today's GITA live session. The topic for the day is burn anger before anger burns you. If you remember, a couple of weeks back we had a topic, हमें गुस्सा क्यों आता है? And while we were discussing about anger, a lot of questions came forth about how to go about controlling our temper, more so in present day-to-day circumstances. We all get angry at times. Sometimes situation can be very provoking. So today's session is all about how we can control our anger in such trying circumstances. I will share with you some tips, some techniques, some things which might work, and again it's from the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna has given us many practical insights how we can control our base tendencies, lust, greed, pride, anger, envy, jealousy. So I'll quote few of the verses from the Gita while I share these tips with you. So we'll begin the session today with prayers to Lord Shri Krishna, Srila Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya, seeking their blessings so that we can have a very meaningful session with a lot of takeaways, with a lot of learnings. So if your situation permits, you can also fold your hands and if possible close your eyes and chant these prayers along with me, seeking the blessings of the Lord. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratushe Namaha Namo Brahmane Devaya Go Brahmane Hitaya Cha Jagadhitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today's discussion, again, like we have been doing in the past few sessions, I will divide it to some subsections. In fact, 5 sections to be very precise. First, we will try to understand from Gita the verses which Krishna directly talks about anger and control of anger. As I said, Bhagavad Gita is full of practical insights. In fact, it's like a manual which guides us how we go about leading our lives. Then we will talk about the tips, some things which we can do in our day-to-day lives to control ourselves, to control our anger in case situation arises where we lose our temper, where we are about to lose our temper. So we'll talk about that. In fact, we have 4 such important sections. I don't want to start describing those sections now. So 4 sections deal with some 4 practical insights, how we can manage or control our temper before it starts damaging us from within. So this is quite a recap of what we had discussed in our previous session. How does anger arise? This is in the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, 62nd verse, where Krishna says, while contemplating the objects of the senses, dhyayato vishayan pumsa, sangas teshu pajayate, we develop attachment. We contemplate on the objects of senses and we develop attachment, and from attachment lust develops. And lust means desire to be an independent enjoyer, desire to enjoy my senses, desire to enjoy my mind, intellectual pleasures, mental pleasures. Dhyayato vishaya pumsa sangas teshu pajayate, sangat sanjayate kama, lust. And lust, when the desires do not get fulfilled, things don't transpire the way I want things to happen, people don't behave the way I want them to behave, for my pleasure, for my satisfaction, for my peace of mind, anger arises. Why do we get angry? Because things don't happen the way we want to happen. So lust leads to anger. And then Krishna, the next verse, 63rd verse, Krishna says, from anger, delusion arises. What happens when we become angry? Delusion, bewilderment of memory. We lose our power of discrimination. What we have to speak, what should we not speak, what we should do, what we should not do, that discrimination, that ability to discern, we lose. That's why at times when we get angry, we speak certain words which later on we regret. From anger, delusion arises, and from delusion, bewilderment of memory. Memory is bewildered. All good sense what we have is lost momentarily. When memory is lost, intelligence is bewildered, one falls down again into material pool. And then in the 3rd chapter, Krishna says, 37th verse, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born in contact with the material mode of passion, which is all devouring sinful enemy of the living entity. This kama, which unfulfilled leads to anger, is the greatest enemy of the living entity. We have also covered about lust in one of our previous sessions where we talked about root cause of all our problems is lusty desires, kama. So now, no doubt each one of us have different degrees of lusty desires. We are not completely pure. We are on the path. We are treading the path whereby we will get purified in due course of time. We all have base qualities like I talked about: lust, greed, pride, envy, anger, all these qualities which we know are not good for us, but it's there. So how we go about dealing with them while we are on the path of purification? So here Krishna in the Gita, 5th chapter says, this is 23rd verse, before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of material senses and check the forces of desire and anger. See, it's a force. Anger is a force. That's why many times people, when they get angry, they lose control over themselves momentarily. It's a force. They know I shouldn't be getting angry. They know it's not good for me. So before giving up the present body, that means in this very life, if one is able to tolerate the urges of material senses, different desires which keeps popping up, urges of the material senses, and check the force of desire and anger, he is a yogi and happy in this world. See, we all want to be happy. All of us striving for things, situations, achievements which will make us happy. So here Krishna is saying, before giving up the present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is a yogi and he is happy in this world. So now we'll talk about some practical tips, what we can do to help control our temper or not falling prey to anger which really burns us from within. Krishna in the Gita, again 4th chapter, 10th verse says, being freed from attachment, fear and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me, many people in the past have become purified by knowledge of me. Here it's very important for us to know, Krishna is giving us some important insights, how we can purify ourselves of all these base qualities. No doubt we can have some quick fix solutions, just like there are some quick fix solutions even for our health. If suppose we are having fever, we can take some crocin, paracetamol tablets. If we have some pain in the body, we can take some painkillers. It gives us some symptomatic relief. But mind you, it is not addressing the root cause. So likewise, there are many books, many articles, many videos on anger management. Believe me or not, they are more like quick fixes. You can count 10 to 1, you can take a deep breath, you can leave the situation, all that helps. All these techniques can be made use of, but they are not addressing the root cause. And here in this particular verse, 4th chapter, 10th verse, Krishna is giving us a very practical insight. Being freed from attachment, fear, anger, and fully absorbed in me, taking refuge in me. So the process of Krishna consciousness is all about taking refuge in the Lord, absorbed in consciousness of the Lord, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Many persons in the past, what happens if we are conscious of the Lord, take refuge of the Lord? What happens? Many persons in the past have become purified by the knowledge of me, and thus they have attained transcendental love for me. So in other words, if we have to get purified, we have to have knowledge about the Lord. We have to take refuge of the Lord. We have to become conscious of the Lord. this will attack the problem at the root. It will not necessarily give us some symptomatic relief. Refuge of the Lord, being conscious of the Lord, and Krishna is saying, having knowledge of me, many people in the past have got purified. Let me share with you story of Bhrigu Muni. I'm sure all of you have heard about Bhrigu Muni. He's son of Lord Brahma. So Bhrigu Muni was assigned the task by the Devatas to figure out who among the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh, Lord Shiva, who among the three is full of mode of goodness. So Bhrigu Muni first decided to go to Lord Brahma. Bhrigu Muni is son of Lord Brahma. So as soon as he reached the Brahmaloka to meet his father Lord Brahma, he deliberately did not pay his obeisances as soon as he reached and was about to meet Lord Brahma. Generally, it's an etiquette when a son or a disciple meets the spiritual master or the father, he pays obeisances and offers some prayers out of respect. So deliberately, he did not offer any respect, offer any prayers, and just walked into the assembly. In today's time, more or less it has become quite common, but it was quite unnatural. And moment Brahma saw that it was an act of impudence, disrespect, so he became very angry. How can Bhrigu do like this? Come into the assembly and not pay respect, not pay obeisances? So he became very angry and wanted to curse Bhrigu Muni. But somehow he checked his anger, controlled himself and let go. It was not at all expected from Bhrigu Muni to act in that way as far as Brahma is concerned. Next, Bhrigu Muni went to see Lord Shiva in Mahesh Dham. So Lord Shiva was sitting with Mother Parvati, and as soon as Bhrigu Muni entered there, Mahesh Dham, Lord Shiva got up from his seat and moved towards Bhrigu Muni to embrace him out of love. But as we all know, Lord Shiva is, his body is clad with ashes. Apparently looks like he is quite unclean. So as soon as Bhrigu Muni approached Lord Shiva and Lord Shiva got up and came forward to embrace Bhrigu Muni stepped back. He says, no, no, no. You're quite unclean. Your body is covered with ashes and all. It's okay, it's okay. And he was quite reluctant to get embraced by Lord Shiva. Now, mind you, offense to a person can happen in thought, that means in your mind. It can happen in words. We can speak bad words and offend a person, or it can happen in action. So, the first offense what Bhrigu Muni did to Brahma was in the mind, not paying respects, offending him in his mind, but not offering prayers. As far as offending Lord Shiva is concerned, it was in words, saying that you are unclean, and stepped back and not allowed Lord Shiva to embrace him, welcome him. Lord Shiva became very angry and wanted to kill Bhrigu Muni, but somehow Mother Parvati forbade Lord Shiva to get angry and kill Bhrigu Muni, and somehow he let him go. Then Bhrigu Muni went to Shvetadipa to meet Lord Vishnu. So in Shvetadipa, Lord Vishnu was lying on the bed of flowers, served by Mother Lakshmi. And as soon as Bhrigu Muni reached there, deliberately, because he was on a mission to figure out who among the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh, was totally in mode of goodness, full of all good qualities, greatest among three. So he deliberately, this time, went straight to Lord Vishnu and kicked him on his chest. Mind you, I mentioned, offense can be in the mind, it can be in words, it can be in action. If you compare all the three offenses, in the mind, it's relatively lesser compared to in the words. And even higher than that is offense in action. So here, Bhrigu Muni went straight to Lord Vishnu and kicked him on his chest. As soon as he kicked him on the chest, it was natural that Lord Vishnu will get angry. It can happen with anyone. If suppose somebody comes and hits us, naturally we'll become angry. But instead of becoming angry, Lord Vishnu started smiling and said the following words. Let us note down the words which Vishnu said. First he said, "O gentle Brahmana," he is referring to Bhrigu Muni, "you have come all the way to my place. Looks like I have made some mistake in my receiving you, O great Brahmana. Looks like I have offended you. So kindly forgive me for my mistake." So this is the first statement which Lord Vishnu made. Then he said, great sages like you, the great Brahmanas like you, when they visit places of pilgrimage, they can even sanctify, purify the places of pilgrimage. Generally, we go to place of pilgrimage to get purified, but the places of pilgrimage themselves get purified by the presence of great sages. So Vishnu says that such great sages, such great sage like you have come to my place, to Vaikuntha. Whole place will get purified just by your presence. How fortunate I am to have you here with me, with us. Third thing, Vishnu said that your lotus feet, your feet are like soft lotus flowers, and my chest is like a thunderbolt. And you have kicked on my chest. I hope it has not hurt your lotus feet. I am sorry if it has hurt you. If my chest has hurt your lotus feet, they might have got hurt. And fourth thing he said, I am so blessed, I am so fortunate that you have hit on my chest. My chest is a place where Lakshmi Devi resides. And we all know Lakshmi Devi is Chanchala. Chanchala means it's quite flickering. That's why somebody is blessed with Lakshmi today and next day it's gone. A rich man becomes a pauper and a pauper can become a rich man. We hear a lot of stories like that. So Chanchala, Lakshmi Devi is Chanchala. So Vishnu says that you have hit on my chest where Lakshmi Devi resides. Now my chest has got sanctified by the touch of your lotus feet. Now Lakshmi Devi will not leave my chest. Now let us understand. Yes, Vishnu can get angry. Yes, Bhrigu Muni went and hit the chest with his leg. But Vishnu is completely seeing this act from another different perspective. Just like it is said, you can see the glass half empty, you can also see the glass half full. So different situations which arise in our life, different circumstances, different things which people do to us, which can irritate us, which can arouse anger in us can be seen from different perspectives. We generally have one perspective, but there are many perspectives. Ideally, it is recommended that we have Shastra perspective, perspective of our scriptures, perspective of great sages, perspective of Lord Sri Krishna, and based on that perspective, we act. Here I am not trying to justify and say what Bhrigu did was completely justified and was right. I'm just giving an example that how we can have a different perspective. Just like Vishnu here is sharing 4 different perspectives. I am so blessed that Brahmanas like you have come, sanctified this place. I hope your feet is not hurt because of having kicked my chest. Now that my chest has been touched by your feet, it's got sanctified. When problems arise, we can curse God. Again, depends on the perspective we have. We can consider it as a blessing in disguise. So that's why it is very, very important. Here Krishna is using the word with knowledge of me, knowledge of Shastras, knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. It is very, very important. If we have that perspective of life, we will not be bewildered. Buddhi nasho. That's why Krishna says, Dhiras tatra na muhyati. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. When death happens, a person who is not having transcendental knowledge is completely shattered, is completely rattled. Whereas Krishna is saying one who has this knowledge, who has that Shastra perspective, Shastra chakshu, Dhiras tatra na muhyati. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So many situations which can bewilder us, which can completely rattle us, which can completely shake us, which can completely raise anger in us, will lose its venom if we have scriptural perspective to our lives, to that particular act. So here it says, we cannot control the force of our anger. Therefore, when we look at material things, we cannot avoid feeling attraction or repulsion for them. But the Supreme Lord is never affected in that way. The Lord is transcendental. Therefore, one who desires to conquer the force of senses must take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Must take shelter of the Lord, refuge of the Lord, be conscious of the Lord, follow the instructions of the Lord. Then he will be victorious. It is said that Lord Vishnu somehow forgave Bhrigu Muni, but Lakshmi Devi, she became very angry because how dare he hit the chest of her beloved Lord. So it seems that from that day onwards, Lakshmi Devi is not very favorably disposed to the Brahmanas. That's why you see many times Brahmanas, they may be devotees of Vishnu, but they may not be very wealthy. They may be in poverty-stricken state. So it says that Lakshmi is angry at such Brahmanas. How dare he went and hit Lord Vishnu. So the first thing which we can keep in mind is the process of Krishna consciousness. Reading of Bhagavad Gita, chanting of the holy names of the Lord, trying to remember the Lord, think of the Lord, be conscious of the Lord. This process, this path, what we are treading, will purify us. It may not be immediate solution. It is not that in a situation when you get angry, it will take time. The process of purification will take time. We are attacking a root problem, lusty desires. All the base qualities which have deeply rooted within us. It takes time for us to get rid of them. But this process will work. Krishna is saying many, many devotees in the past have got purified by knowledge of me. So that's why Prabhupada insists that we daily read his books, read Bhagavad Gita, chant the holy names of the Lord. will surely purify us. If suppose somebody gets angry very often, if one treads this path, follows the path of Krishna consciousness, he will surely in due course of time see that he is able to check the forces of anger. Once there was a sage by name Eknath. I'm sure all of you have heard about, he was in Maharashtra, Sant Eknath. So he was quite well known for his saintly qualities, his saintly behavior. He was very equiposed, very peaceful, very calm, always engaged in chanting the names of the Lord, his bhajans, kirtans, preaching the glories of the Lord, very devoted. And he became that way quite famous. A lot of people from far off villages would come to meet him, to seek his blessings, offer obeisances to him. So one time, a person who became envious of Eknath, he was a very rich zamindar, he became envious of Eknath, that how he is becoming so famous. I have a lot of money, I have a lot of wealth, but still people don't come to me to seek my blessings, to meet me. But here this sage has practically nothing. He's just engaged in chanting the names of Lord, fooling the public, and people are coming and falling at his feet. So he hired a man and said, somehow you make this person get angry. I will pay you thousands of rupees. I don't know the exact amount, but somehow he was promised a huge sum of money. You make this Eknath, so-called sadhu. He is a fake Baba. He is acting as if he is a great devotee. Somehow let him show his true colors. Let him become angry. Generally, sages are, known not to get angry, very calm, very peaceful. So this person was hired. So one day Eknath was coming back from the river after having taken the bath. And on his way back home, when he was returning, this person was hiding behind the bush, and as soon as Eknath passed that way, he got up and spit at Eknath. So Eknath looked at him. Out of compassion, he could have got angry, but out of compassion, maybe there is some compulsion, some way he has offended this person. He did not shout back, did not get angry, went back to the river, holy river, took a bath, and again walked back home. Again, the second time, the man came, intercepted him on the way, and again spat at him. Again, Eknath went back, took the bath, and again came back. This process, believe me or not, happened 108 times. 108 times Eknath went back to the river, had the holy dip, again was walking back to the home, and this person would come and spit at him. After 108 times, this person's heart melted. He came and fell at the feet of Eknath. He says, please forgive me. I am such a cruel man, such a sinful man. For some petty gains, I dared to do such an ignoble act of offending such a great devotee like you. Actually, my family is completely poverty stricken. My children have not eaten food for many days. So this person promised me huge sum of money and I got lured by it. Forgive me, pardon me for having the impudence of having acted like this, offended such great sage like you. So Eknath got up and said, please do not worry, my friend. In fact, I feel that I am such a fortunate person. Today I got an opportunity to take bath in the holy river 108 times. How blessed I am. I got an opportunity because of you to take bath 108 times. Second thing, Eknath also mentioned, I am so sorry. If you had hinted me, if you had told me that you are in a poverty and you have been promised with such huge amount, you will get such huge amount, just that I become angry, you should have told me, you should have hinted me, I would have got angry much earlier. I would have acted as if I've got angry so that you could have got that money much easier. I made you wait for so long. I'm sorry. Again, I'm not saying that this is a kind of a situation where ideal devotees, great devotees, who have completely conquered their all base qualities, their false ego, they act in ways. But just to give a sense of how great devotees have a different perspective to life. Says that I'm so blessed that I got an opportunity to take bath 108 times. And then he says, you could have hinted me, I would have acted as if I got angry so that you wouldn't have to wait for so long. I made you wait for so long. One time I was talking about anger management and how great devotees, by practicing the process of Krishna consciousness, they can control their base quality. So one lady in the audience got up and said, Swamiji, I know one person who has been practicing Krishna consciousness for last 5 years. He chants and this and that, but he's very angry. Gets very angry. On one side, you are saying that, by following this process of Krishna consciousness, by chanting the names of the Lord, by reading Bhagavad Gita, you'll get purified and you can control all your base qualities. Other side, I see a person who is chanting and doing all these things and he is short-tempered. And she asked this question in front of about 150 odd people sitting. For a moment, I started sweating. I am suggesting something as a solution, and here the lady is standing in front of everyone and saying the solution won't work. And she has evidence. She is saying that I know a person who is a devotee, who is chanting and who is reading Gita, who is apparently visiting temples, attending satsang, and he is getting angry, he is short-tempered. So how do we reconcile? Yes, at times we might encounter devotees who are short-tempered. I will explain why. First and foremost, we are on the path of purification. It is not that somebody becomes a devotee, joins the mission after he has become fully pure. All of us, with whatever qualities we have, just like a person joins the hospital to get cured of his disease. Different people in the hospital are diseased to different degrees. Yes, the very fact that he has joined the hospital and is taking medication will help him cure in due course of time. That is point one. Second thing, even in the hospital, at times a person might enter, depending on the severity of the disease, it may take time for him to get cured. Sometimes a person is admitted in a hospital for months together, at times year together. For example, Rishi Kapoor, when he went to the US for his treatment of leukemia, cancer, he was there in the hospital for about a year. And then he came back. Again, he was in a hospital. So some diseases you are in a hospital for a year or so, or even more. Just because, and in spite of being in the hospital, many times a person succumbed to the disease. We cannot say the hospital was bad. We cannot say the doctors were not good. We cannot say the medicines were not good. There's so many factors which come into play to decide the end result. You may have the best of doctors, like present in COVID case. A lot of people who are getting admitted in the hospitals, the doctors are trying their best. They may have good ICU support, they may have ventilators, but in spite of that, a person may not survive. We cannot blame the doctors. In a school, you may have the same teacher, the same course book, the same classroom, the same tutorials. One person gets 95% marks, another person fails with maybe 35% marks. We can't blame the school, we can't blame the teachers. So Krishna In the Bhagavad Gita is saying many persons in the past have got purified by following this process, taking refuge in me, by knowledge of me, and controlling the urges of mind and senses have got completely purified. Bhagavad Gita is not a some philosophy which some person has written some 100 200 years back. 5,000 years back Krishna spoke this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, and in the Bhagavad Gita Krishna spoke, I spoke this knowledge to sun god Vivaswan millions of years ago. So this is an authorized knowledge, it's an authorized process, just that it may take little time depending on how badly we are overpowered by lusty desires, by attachments, by mode of passion. We all are diseased to different degrees. Just like a fan, when you switch off, it doesn't come to a halt immediately. Depending on at what speed it was rotating, it will take time for it to halt. If it was rotating at number 5 very fast, it will take a longer time for it to come to a halt. So that way this process is authorized. For sure we will get purified of these base qualities, just that we have to be patient, with faith, with conviction. Krishna had said so. Prabhupada has said, devotees are saying, I will get purified. One should follow this process, and yes, purification will happen. Another thing which we all can do, which we all can strive for, is a sattvic lifestyle, or things which will increase sattva guna in us. There was a lady by name Anushka Mehta. This lady was working as a marketing manager in a very big MNC, and very fast-paced lifestyle. She would have a lot of meetings, she would rush for the office in the morning, have breakfast on the way, and obviously when you're fast-paced lifestyle, so you compromise on all your things, no exercises, and then on the way, on the move, you are eating. At times you're skipping your breakfast, at times you're skipping the lunch, meetings are unscheduled throughout the day. And she was known for her bad temper. Small things would irritate her. She would get angry, and many times her colleagues will leave the job. Attrition was very high in the office. She got fed up because there was a lot of feedback coming in from different forces that her temperament, her attitude is not good. And it started dawning on her also that she has to really improve. Otherwise, it's going to very badly hit her career. So she started even visiting some counselors, taking some counseling sessions, started reading some books on managing anger, controlling anger, but nothing seemed to be working. And as I mentioned, because of fast-paced life, her lifestyle was completely out of sync. She would be eating all kinds of burgers, pizzas, ordered from the market, and no fixed time for eating, no fixed time for sleeping, completely unregulated lifestyle. So one day the mother, quite sober, elderly lady, suggested, "Beta, try to eat right kind." She knew that she's eating all kind of junk food. Just gave a suggestion. And having tried different things and nothing was working out, as a last resort, she asked her mother, "Tell me, what should I do? What should I do to improve?" And the mother, generally mothers are quite wise. They know what's good for us based on the wisdom, based on the experience. So she suggested some changes in her lifestyle, in her eating habits, requested her pack lunch from the home. She personally cooked right kind of dishes, lot of salads, lot of sattvic foods, home cooked food. In the evening, requested her to come back home in time, eat the dinner in time. And just by some minor changes in her eating habits, what she was eating, it was a drastic change in her behavior. I'm sure all of you have heard about saying, Jaisa an, Vaisa man. In the Gita, we just now discussed that how from mode of passion comes lust, kama. And kama, when it is unfulfilled, desires which are not fulfilled, leads to anger. So the starting point is passion, mode of passion. Krishna in the Gita, many places talks about Sattva-guna, Rajoguna and Tamoguna. So we have to, by practicing these spiritual activities, devotional activities, slowly elevate ourselves from the grips of Tamoguna, Rajoguna and elevate to Sattva-guna. Sattvic ahar, the right kind of foods which are sattvic in nature, if we eat, we'll also have the right kind of temperament, right kind of thoughts, right kind of behavior. It has an impact. If we eat foods which are very rajasic in nature, very passionate, too much fried, oily, fast food, naturally we'll be under the influence of Rajoguna and will not be able to control our behaviors. Intense hankering, lust, greed, all these base qualities will create havoc in our system. Laziness, if we are in Tamoguna, laziness, depression, don't feel like doing anything, not feeling in control of our own selves, all these things will happen to us. So that's why Krishna, many places in the Gita, that's why they said Gita is solution to all our problems. Krishna may not directly talk about the problem of depression, may not directly talk about problem of greed, may not directly give you a solution about, but it is talking about the root of all of our problems. Because of passion there is attachment, because of attachment there is lust, because of lust there is anger, because of anger there is bewilderment of memory, because of bewildered memory there is loss of intelligence. So how we can, by practicing these instructions, the principles which Krishna is sharing with us, gradually elevate from Tamoguna to Rajoguna to Sattva-guna and transcend even Sattva-guna to Shuddha Sattva. And when we are situated in Sattva-guna and Shuddha Sattva, automatically we will be in a good position to control the urges of our mind, urges of our tongue, urges of forces of desire, forces of anger, and we will be. So we'll talk about a couple of other suggestions which we can incorporate in our daily lifestyle to deal with anger. In the meantime, we will have, for a short while, we'll have some kirtans. As we all know, during the sessions we have been having kirtans for about 10 to 12 minutes. We will chant the names of the Lord, participate in the kirtans, get spiritually rejuvenated, and then after the kirtans we'll resume our discussion which we are doing now. I'll do a quick recap of what we have learned so far, and then we'll proceed and have some couple of other nice tools or strategies which we can employ to handle the force of anger. So we'll have kirtans now. Please stay tuned, and in 10 minutes we'll be resuming the session. So we talked about the process of Krishna consciousness, the knowledge about Krishna, and then we briefly talked about that how even at times we see devotees who are practicing the principles of Krishna consciousness are getting angry, are acting in ways which are not exemplary. So I explained that how we are on the path of purification and different people are diseased to different degrees, and it may take time for the purification to happen, but the process is authorized. It's just a question of time. So we have to be patient, we have to be determined, and we have to be enthusiastic in our practice of Krishna consciousness. And as part of the solution, I mentioned that how we can try to elevate ourselves from the lower modes, influence of Rajoguna, influence of Tamoguna, situate in Sattoguna, and Krishna has given many instructions. We can try to eat the right kind of foods which are in Sattoguna, which will elevate us on the modes, and that will have an impact on our behavior, attitudes, and temperament. Now, last two tips which I would like to share before we end the discussion today and take up some questions. This is something which is very at the ground level. At times we will get angry. We will lose temper. Somehow at that time we should have good sense to not settle scores, not deal with situation, because at that time we are bewildered, memory is lost, intelligence is bewildered. So many times when we get angry for minutes together, for hours together, we are dealing with situation in an angry mood. try as far as possible we extricate from that situation. If we know that we're getting angry, try for that moment, if you can, step out of that room, go to some other place. If you're on email, somebody has sent an email that has irritated you, do not reply to that email in that moment. Relax, calm down, let that time pass, drink some water. This is very, very important. One time I was taking a class, and in the class somebody asked me a question, and I was talking about gurus, and by mistake I happened to take name of a saintly person, a guru who is quite famous, but may not be necessarily genuine as far as what he's talking about. So in that audience, there was one person who was who was quote unquote a very staunch follower of that guru. Although I did not blaspheme, but definitely I somehow spoke lowly of that person to the extent saying that he is not genuine. So this person got offended, and in the whole assembly, an argument ensued. He started saying, "How can you say that?" And then I started talking, and in between, I became quite forceful and even lost my temper. And because I have knowledge of Gita, I somehow could defeat him in the argument. I could defeat him in front of everyone. So I won the argument, but I lost the battle. And after the class, generally we used to have some registration. People used to register for a particular class which we were conducting in Bangalore. Nobody registered. So many times in that angry mood, in that argumentative mood, in that moment, we'll act in certain ways. You might win. You might win the argument, but we lose a relationship. So when we are getting angry in that moment, check if we can have a good sense to press the pause button, extricate from that situation, and come back and handle the situation with a cool head. It is said that do not reply to any emails in an angry mood. Suppose somebody has sent an email, it's offended you. Do not reply immediately. Let some time pass. Cool off. So that's a practical suggestion. And the last thing, it is very, very important. Very, very important. If somebody has offended us, we do not brew hatred, anger, ill feelings against that person in our heart. Momentarily, yes, we can get angry, and yes, we can even later on, if we were wrong, if we lost our temper, we can go and ask forgiveness. But last, what we should do is brew hatred, anger, ill feeling against some person for what that person has done to us. In other words, a heart should be clean. Once there was a teacher who gave an assignment to all the students in the class that tomorrow get a plastic bag from your home, and in the plastic bag get some potatoes, and on each potato write a person's name against whom you have some grudge, some hatred, or some anger. And if your grudge is quite a lot, you're angry at a person quite, you have a bigger potato. And then if it is just a minor grudge, you can have a smaller potato. But have one potato for one person, and if you have grudge with 5 people, you have anger against 5 people, have 5 potatoes and bring to your classroom in a plastic bag. So next day, the students came back to the classroom, somebody in a plastic bag having 8 potatoes, somebody having 3 potatoes, somebody having 5 potatoes, and everyone having the name written of the person on the potato with a sketch pen. So the teacher gave them an assignment. He says, for next 1 week, you have to always carry this bag of potatoes with you, even when you have to go to a restroom. always carry this bag with you. Even when you go to the bed, make sure that this bag is next to you. So, knowing that the teacher has given this assignment and there's some important learning which which the teacher is trying to give, all the students very dutifully obeyed. So all of them were seen carrying this bag with potatoes. Some of them 6 potatoes, some of them 8 potatoes, some of them 10 of them. And 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, the potatoes in that plastic bag started rotting. That stench started emanating from that bag, and at times it became it became difficult to tolerate that stench. But somehow they were counting when this assignment will get over, another 2 days left, another 1 day left, and finally when the time was announced the assignment is over, they felt very relieved. Now they can get rid of this bag which is full of potatoes with a lot of bad smell, rotten potatoes smelling so badly, and they have to carry all along with them. So then came the time when teacher gave them the lesson. Just like this bag of potatoes, and these potatoes are rotting and creating some foul smell and we are not able to tolerate. Imagine in our mind body system, if we carry hatred, anger, ill feelings against some person who has done some wrong to us, that foul smell, that hatred will burn us from within. In this case of potatoes, at least that smell, it's from outside. We can make out it's rotting. We can see it. But many times the same thing is happening from within. It is killing us from within. It is burning us from within. And we may not be even aware of. That's why many times people have all kinds of health issues because they're not willing to forgive and let go of some wrong which has happened to them. They are filled with hatred, anger, ill feeling against a person, and they cannot forgive. So that's why our scriptures say, Bhagavad Gita says, Shama Rupa Tapasvinaha. A quality of a saintly person, tapasvi, is that he should practice forgiveness. So we should forgive. Yes, people will. Everyone in this world is struggling, having its own set of problems. So we have to practice the art of forgiveness. Let go. Because more than hurting that person, that hatred and ill feeling is going to burn us, is going to impact us, destroy us from within. And hence practice tolerance and forgiveness. So we'll come to an end of this discussion today. We'll take up some questions for next 20 minutes. We had a lot of questions which had come in the previous session, हमें गुस्सा क्यों आता है, which remained unanswered because of paucity of time. Today also a lot of questions are pouring in, and unfortunately I'll not be able to do full justice to all the questions. So next week, next Sunday, same time 4:30, we're going to have a session which is predominantly going to be a question answer session where all the unanswered question of today and the previous session Gussa Kyun Aata will be answered. So please make sure, in case your question is not answered, and even otherwise, we can always learn from others' challenges. When I'm going to answer, giving some practical insights or based on my experience of practice of Krishna consciousness, such answers, even though it may not be completely relevant to you, we can gain some important insights by such answers. So next session will be, so do not mind in case your question does not get answered today. Please join us next week, and for sure we will try to answer almost all the questions which have come forth in today's session and also the previous session. The first question is from Pavan. After reading Bhagavad Gita, I found that I always get angry and lusty thoughts in the afternoon time. Can you please help me how to handle afternoon time? Generally, morning time is said to be predominantly Sattva-guna. Afternoon time, evening time is Rajoguna is predominant, and night time Tamoguna is predominant, generally speaking. That's why you have bars, pubs, all these discotheques, all operating in the night time. Temples open in the morning time. So generally in the afternoon, as we know that Rajaguna will be predominant, just a small tip which I can give, you can try taking a shower in the afternoon, taking a bath, because it also invokes Sattva. If you want, you can try taking a small power nap, small nap, because when we get tired, our brain gets tired, our mind gets tired, we start feeling jittery, all this Rajoguna. So try if you can take a bath, take some deep breaths, and read some Gita. All that will definitely help to not fall prey to the lower modes. This question is from Manish Kumar. What is wrong in sense gratification which is not sinful, like visiting nice places, availing good medical treatment? Yes, sense gratification which is not sinful, which is very much within the domain of, Krishna is also not unreasonable. If we are not hurting someone and we are working within some boundaries, it's perfectly justified. So we don't have to feel guilty if you have gone to a nice garden for having a stroll and you are enjoying the beauty of a garden, nothing wrong. But try if you can think that this beautiful garden is a creation of the Lord. If you're eating some nice thing, be grateful to the Lord and see that this wonderful food stuff is being supplied by the Lord. So we can be Krishna conscious while even we try to enjoy some of the so-called pleasures of this world. This question is from Vikas Sharma. We encounter situations where the person is using offensive language. Should we just remain silent and control the anger? It is not recommended that in every situation we have to tolerate. If you remember, in our previous session, we talked about specifically if the devotees and the Lord is being offended or somebody is using an abusive language, it is very much justified to become angry. But assuming somebody is saying some words to us and I am getting hurt, my ego is getting hurt, I should tolerate. Again, it depends on situation. If a person is taking undue advantage as a matter of duty, we can speak to that person. We can even retaliate as a matter of duty. We can use anger as a tool rather than we being controlled by anger. There's a difference between the two. Anger being used as a tool vis-a-vis anger using us, we being slaves of our anger. We can speak to him, we can even use harsh words. Please mind your language, please do not act like that, it's not at all acceptable. We can be very stern in our behavior. So Krishna consciousness does not mean that you just tolerate and tolerate. We have to use our intelligence and act. Question is from Rashmi Kalro. When my daughter does not do her japa or do her prescribed duties, I get very worked up and lose my cool many a times. I end up crying out of helplessness. Please help. Many times in life, we want things to happen in a particular way. In other words, we are in a controlling mode. We want to control things to happen the way I want to happen. Yes, no doubt sometimes, like for example, you may want your daughter to do her chanting regularly, which are good for her. But beyond the point, we should not try to control things, control people. As a matter of duty, we do. We can tell her one time, two times, three times, we can request her. Beyond the point, you cannot control. Many times we want our people, our family members to also become devotees, to take up Krishna consciousness. We have to avoid two extremes. One extreme is by hook or crook, come what may, they have to take up. They have to follow what I am following. That's one extreme. The other extreme is I do not put any effort whatsoever. We put our efforts, If they accept, good for them. Beyond a point, we cannot control situations, people, fully. Everyone is an independent being, a living entity having its own free will. Krishna also respects that free will. So we do our duty, tell her one time, two times, three times, and then if she does not listen, leave it. What can be done? This question is from Ashwin Srinivasan. If sometimes get angry due to unavoidable circumstances while chanting, how do we bring ourselves to normal mood before we continue chanting? Any tips? Some practical tips which I can suggest is, if you can wash your face, if you can drink some water, if you can do some deep breathing, do some pranayama, that will give you some immediate relief. And then you can resume your chanting. This is just immediate. Wash your face, drink some water, all that will help. This question is from Ashok KM. What are examples of food in Rajoguna and Tamoguna? Very deep fried, oily foods, lot of sweets. They are too spicy, too much of chili. These are all examples of Rajasic food. And non-vegetarian foods, tinned, canned, with a lot of preservatives, which may be very good for the tongue. These are examples of tamasic food. And sattvic is freshly cooked. In fact, prasadam, the food which is offered to Lord, is not even sattvic, it is shuddha sattva, it's transcendental. And freshly cooked, lot of vegetables, fruits, these are examples of sattvic ahar. Devansh More. My granny, aged about 84 years, does activities that might get her into trouble. Watching her doing that, at times I ask her not to do, and at times I lose temper and end up yelling at her and regret. Please help. This question is something similar to what I have already replied. As a matter of duty, we try to tell the person. Beyond a point, we cannot control. Beyond a point. That's why Krishna, many places in the Bhagavad Gita says, you have the right to do your duty, but do not be attached to the results of your activities. Just because you are saying something to someone does not necessarily mean that person has to follow you, has to behave. That way Krishna can force us to behave and follow all his instructions. Then where is the question of free will? It has to come from within. So we, as a matter of duty, might say, but beyond a point, we do not try to control the outcome. She has to behave in the way I want her to behave. That will definitely result in frustration and anger. This question is from Anand Bharadwaj. Some people are very attached, some are very angry, some are very greedy, some very jealous by their very nature. Can these forces of nature be also controlled by being absorbed in the Lord? Yes. The Lord is all powerful. He is the supreme controller. He is the cause of all causes. Krishna in the Gita says, Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto. I am seated in everyone's heart. From me comes all knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. Just like iron in touch with fire becomes red hot, likewise the Lord, who is Pavitram, all pure, when our consciousness, when we come in touch with that Lord, we also get purified. Although we have heard that it is very difficult to change the nature of a person, but we see miracles happening for people who are very sincerely trying to practice the principles of Bhagavad Gita and Krishna consciousness. Many times we have heard people saying, you have changed so much. Even we have experience in our lives. We had taste. A lot of people, in the past were very fond of movies, very fond of cricket, very fond of so many activities. But once we come to Krishna consciousness, our tastes change. Sometimes friend remarks, you have changed so much. It's difficult to believe. We also feel so. And that's because this process of Krishna consciousness is so powerful. So yes, the nature of a person can change. Again, depends how sincerely we are following the process. This question is from Archana Subramanian. What if anger is a pattern for controlling and screaming is meant to quieten or make the other person feel small? How do we put up in a relationship? They will never listen if they know you are right. I think again this question is something similar to what was asked earlier. We have to do our duty. We cannot lord over the outcome. If screaming is required, let's say some child is not doing the homework, screaming may be justified to correct that person. But again, as I mentioned, it should be, we should not, it should not come where we have lost control over our own selves. Our intelligence is bewildered. We have lost the ability to discern. Helplessly, we have become slave of our anger. That should not be the mode of working, general mode of working. Anger has a place. A mother getting angry at a child who is very mischievous may be required at times, but it should be used as a tool. Some questions. As I mentioned, today we'll be taking some questions, another 5-10 minutes, and some questions which remain unanswered. We'll have a dedicated session. It will be a question answer session where all the questions which are asked in this particular session today and the previous session will be taken up, and we will have a lot of practical learnings based on actual ground reality experiences of people who are trying to practice the principles of Krishna consciousness. So please join us next Sunday also. I practice meditation. This question is from Partha Nandi. I practice meditation with chanting Mahamantra in front of the Lord and Radharani early in the morning after taking bath every day, and it has given me enough space to connect with the Lord. So this is just a comment. So very nice. Yes, if we do that, if we charge ourselves spiritually in the morning, we'll be in a very good state of mind, state of consciousness to handle all the challenges which the life throws up in course of the day. This question is from Ashtesh Kumar. Prabhuji, what if we are with a person daily who is not realizing that he is doing something which is making us angry? We cannot control persons beyond a point. We cannot control situations beyond a point. We cannot control circumstances beyond a point. But what we can control is how we respond to those situations. That is within our circle of influence. So rather than saying he is not behaving like that, he is acting in that way, how can I change that person? What can I do to take care of his behavior? The question should be asked how I can respond intelligently. No doubt, as a matter of duty, we can try to correct a person. We can counsel that person if he is junior. We can tell him very politely what's wrong in his behavior as a matter of duty. But the crux is what we can do ourselves to respond to that situation intelligently in a Krishna conscious. This question is from Bhavik Jain. Why negative thoughts comes to the mind even if we are not thinking about it? Because we have a conscious mind and we have a subconscious mind. Subconscious mind is a storehouse of all our experiences, all our activities, vasanas of the past. So many times they all come up. For example, you may not be dabbling with lusty thoughts in the present, but what about all what we have seen and dabbled with in the past? All that has stored. So sometimes, in some circumstances, the lusty thoughts can get triggered and all those memories can start popping up in our mind body system. So that's why we have to learn to tolerate while we are practicing the process which will purify our conscious mind and subconscious mind. This question is from Nikita Nandhani. Please suggest the chapter in Bhagavad Gita for relationship management, Prabhu. Uh, Frankly speaking, I'll have to check which chapter has verses which specifically talk about relationship. But in general, I would like to mention Bhagavad Gita may not give very pinpointed, specific answers to specific problems. Like, for example, anger management, verse number so and so, so and so and so. It is giving us a perspective of life, an empowered perspective of life, a paradigm, the knowledge by which, if we act, we'll be able to solve all the problems of life, all the problems which we encounter in life. Makchitta sarva durgani mat prasada tarishyasi. Krishna says, if you become conscious of me, by my grace, by my blessings, you will cross over all obstacles. He's not saying relationship problem, health problem, anger problem. You'll cross over all obstacles of conditional life by my grace. So this process of Krishna consciousness is how we can take refuge of the Lord, how we can lead a life following the instructions of the Lord by His blessings, by His mercy, by His guidance. Krishna says, from me comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. By right guidance which comes from the Lord, mystically, dynamically, we can cross all the problems which might encounter in our lives. That's why we say Bhagavad Gita is solution to all the problems. Not just relationship problem, not just health problem, not some interpersonal problems. All the problems, Bhagavad Gita has solutions if we follow the principles which Krishna is sharing with us in the Gita. So it's already 6 o'clock. Thank you for joining us today. As I mentioned, next Sunday we will be dedicating the session to answer the questions which were left unanswered today and in the previous session. हमें गुस्सा क्यों आता है? So please join us, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of important learnings and insights after hearing those questions and answers. Thank you very much for joining us today. Hare Krishna.